Man, Duale wants BBI proponents to account for the funds used. He also wants PAC to report the utilization violations of possible laws. This is coming after the Supreme Court declared the BBI unconstitutional. This is also the first time you're appearing on the show after that declaration. What did you make of that declaration, and what do you make of Duale's demands to have the BBI proponents surcharge or account for the funds used?
I think I want to finally say that all political parties, especially in the next 1 week, must ensure that their nomination process is credible. I hope my party, like yesterday, met aspirants and forums on county returning officers and sub-county returning officers. Our political parties, this will be the biggest litmus test to any political party before and after nomination, even going into the future and building our political parties in the country. And I hope I'm worried when I hear my brother Kimani Wamatangi that state agencies might try and interfere in the nomination process. I think they should be called out. This is a democratic country. Allow the political parties to do their own politics. I don't see any interest of state agencies in any business to do with politics. They should just allow politics be done by politicians. Quickly, on the two questions that we have raised. One, as I said last week, that I think this was one of the defining moments of the Chief Justice, Martha Koome, and it has formed a basis and defined our legacy. We were really worried because the way the President and the former Prime Minister were walking around, and even including Governor Mutua, and threatening each and everybody that reggae is on our reggae will be back. But I want to thank and celebrate judiciary for their independence and steadfast, for standing with Wanjiku. I know as parliamentarians we failed to stand with Kenyans when it mattered the most, especially even, by the way, Trevor, are you aware some of the colleagues of Professor Tomo Jenda and now some of the Azimio members, after the nullification, you know, nowadays the two brothers are called Null and Void. Their brothers told me that even people who are insiders of Raila Odinga were very happy with the ruling of the Supreme Court. So I was wondering who was supposed to benefit, because they were saying, and you know, when we were fighting in Senate to block the BBI, most of even colleagues and friends of Raila Odinga were saying that the process was unconstitutional. Really want to celebrate and say Kenyans now have a chance. But one lesson that I've been learning are two. One, that's still on the jurisprudence. Number two, Trevor, it has ensured that when you want to amend the Constitution, what are the steps, what are the process? And I think that's very important, because we are not saying in short that the Constitution cannot be amended, but there are certain parameters and the principles that the Supreme Court did outline.
Yeah.
The second question you asked about the funding, I think we have always said that, and they were secretariat, the BBI secretariat. I've tried to find out from my colleagues in Senate. Our brother, the late Senator Yusuf Haji, was part of the team. My brother, Senator, former AG Emeritus, Amos Wako, was here. And I think Senator Kavindu of Machakos, finding out how are being they funded. And they agreed that the secretariat was gazetted. They were using a lot of money working around the country in terms of their bills. But I think under Article, I think 2265 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, anybody who misuses or abuses the office, they can be held culpable before and even after leaving office.
Yeah.
So I think the brothers of Null and Void, President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Prime Minister, must pay back the Kenyan 10 billion. Okay. So that we can use that 10 billion to even address the fuel shortage, to pay the subsidy so that Kenyans can go to the farm. Because most of the pumps are dry. When you go to Kenya Pipeline, they are telling you we have enough oil. But when you go to the pumps, the borders and everybody are suffering. So from I think what we need to know is that Public Accounts Committee must investigate. And even, by the way, as I conclude, Trevor, on this one, is that the Auditor General must do special audit. Before even, you remember during COVID funds, we ordered the Auditor General to do special audit. I think on the BBI use of money, the special audit must be done. And if anybody is found culpable, including the President, they must return the 10 billion so that Kenyans can use that money to even avert and address some of the challenges that we are facing as a country.
Okay. Prof, should there be a special audit on the BBI funds?
Of course not. Clearly, Trevor, the role of the Auditor General of this Republic under Article 229 of the Constitution is to undertake audit of public functions and public spending. And so if you look at the role of the control of budget under Article 228, those roles complement defining the line of expenditure and then auditing that expenditure. The BBI, and I don't know why my line friend Senator Cherargei is confusing issues. The BBI was, the Supreme Court absolved His Excellency the President and Raila Amolo Odinga for engaging in a process that was possible, because once the Supreme Court set aside the finding of the Court of Appeal and the High Court on the basic structure doctrine, it means that the entire process, that you can actually amend the Constitution. And the President was acting in the public good. The finding that the President cannot commence the process as a citizen does not in any way create any criminality or create any extra any reason why you should look at this process outside the framework of the role of the Auditor General. And I will also say this, that even the decision of the Supreme Court had dissent from judges of the Supreme Court. But that aside, there is nothing, the making of a constitution and the manner of changing a constitution, and we know that largely what was impugned in this process was the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020, but Schedule 2 especially, on boundaries. Not the entire process. Not the entire process was nullified. Remember, the Supreme Court gave life to the IBC and to its processes. That was a gain. I do not know why Cherargei would say that this was careless spending on the part of state. BBI, as I said, simply went into a pause. It shall be back because the amendments that address questions, for instance, of allocation of resources to counties, for instance, moving it from the 15 to 35%, are gains for this country, are gains for that small person. He says that the people, the public needs, the public would have gained from the process, because when counties have more money to spend, then they are able to not only improve services, but the benefits will go down to that small person in the county that needs to benefit from the development of the county. So I don't think there's
any possible culpability to be surcharged. Should they be surcharged? Should there be an account for these funds that were used?
You know, my experience, one is one who has served in the Public Accounts Committee for probably 9 years in Parliament, scrutinizing public expenditure on various projects. I can say without batting an eyelid that every time, Trevor, when you have a massive exercise that includes expenditure of public funds, whatever it is that you're doing, follow it with an audit. Whether people did the right thing. And that must be a rule all the time. I've sat in Public Accounts Committee, I've looked at so many things, and Trevor, the latest evidence is on KEMSA. I mean, people could steal when the country is suffering, when people are dying, you know, when the whole world was in panic. But when the opportunity arose and people were called to save the country and save lives, they chose to enrich themselves and steal. And so requiring that a public audit or an audit of absolute detail be undertaken to confirm and ensure that every money that was intended, put and spent in the process of BBI was done properly, legally, and indeed that the numbers tally. because then what you may realize, and I could almost tell you for sure that may end up being the case, is that there are people who took advantage of a process and a train that has taken off, and it is time now to put money in their pockets. So I don't think Aden Duale's proposal and demand is out of place.
Okay.
I mean, it is the work of legislature to require that kind of audit to be taken, and I don't think that necessarily that has got to be intended to be in ill will of any individual.
Right.
But at the base level, can you ensure that the money that was spent to carry out that exercise indeed went into the reported expenses, and indeed that those numbers tally, and that the funds were properly employed?
All right.
So I believe that it is something that should happen.
Okay. Mutua, as we wind up on this, because I've started a conversation on budget with a different set.
Yeah, because can I also make my closing remarks?
Yes.
At the same time?
Please.
You know, this country is a very interesting country. I know all these statements are being played out of politics. I visited Rwanda, and if you go to Rwanda and you ask somebody, what is your tribe? They actually get angry, because the issue of which tribe you come from is not discussed in Rwanda. They have gotten to a higher stage of interaction, that tribalism is not a factor in terms of bringing it. So the younger generation are not brought up knowing you are this or this, but they went through a very difficult time.
Yeah.
What the BBI did was what I would call a cleansing period for our country, whereby we were able to talk about ourselves. We were able to talk about the problems we face as a country. We want more money to devolution. We want changes here. So it was not an exercise in futility. It will serve us for many years to come. I think the problem came in with the way the constitutional amendment was put in. There was a form of what, quote unquote, I would call a mischief, to rush things and take advantage of the BBI to make changes for political gain. But as an exercise, I totally agree with Professor Ojena that it was not lost. And that was money that was well spent, should not be returned. And generations will benefit from that exercise. Okay. You know, the late Yusuf Haj, a man I respect very much, you know, he was there committed, not for political reasons, but because he loves this country and wanted to see change. So we don't continue repeating the mistakes that we have done. If I can just get to my closing remarks, is that, you know, a friend of mine in Boston told me, as I was coming for this show, go and kick ass, as you do in everything. You know, it's a very common expression in the US, go and kick ass. It means whatever you do, do it well. And so as I live here today as a man in what you call in flux, yet to make a decision on what I need to do. But a reasonable man at that, because I'm not one to be drawn by emotions. Yeah. I want to see what's going on. We look at the behavior of people and we look at patterns. We've seen the MCAs allied to Wiper, for example, and they're all swimming with money all of a sudden the last 1-2 weeks. Where did the money come from? You know, before they were broke. We know Kalonzo Musyoka is not one to be known to have a lot of money around him. He's always complaining about being broke. All of his MCAs and MPs now seem to be liquid. Where did the money come from? You know what I mean? Is there a disadvantage? And I'm saying that with all seriousness. And to say that I'm quite, what I'm feeling is sadness. Yeah. Because I remember how we went to protect Raila's bedroom in Kibera, stood for Raila. And now we have stood with him. Lakini, you know, greed can ruin for people. Now, ameharibia Raila. Let me tell you, even if anything goes haywire, you need to know that Raila amefanya kuharibiwa. Si amejaribia, ameharibiwa na wengine. And and we just feel that, I just feel that there's a clandestine move to hijack the coalition, and it is not to the advantage of Raila. And it is quite unfortunate because I like him very much. But as I said, politics is not about liking somebody. It's about speaking for your people. And lastly, I just got a message here from our good friend, a very exciting friend of ours called Akode. And Akode has sent a message. I think she's watching the show. She says that we are all praying for peaceful elections. Yeah. Let everyone be at liberty in voting the leader he or she feels is suitable to run Kenya without emotions, feelings, and killings. We are one in this country of ours called Kenya. And I think that's a feeling of a lot of Kenyans. Regardless of which side you go in, at the end of it, let Kenyans win and let us have peaceful elections. It tells me to remind Kenyans that she's the president of single mothers, and she's turning 41 this Sunday, and she's going to run for president when she turns 50. Okay. So happy birthday in advance, Akode, and thank you for your message to Kenyans. And I think this Akode is a very popular figure in this country. Yeah. But you see, this somebody also, regardless of whatever, also feels that this country needs peace and stability. Okay. And trustworthy. We have to work with people you can trust and people you can count on their words. All right, gentlemen, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for making time. It's the budget day also. We're going to get into that conversation shortly. Let's bring up your feedback as we wind up on this conversation really quick. Mulicheti, auditing of BBI funds needs to be done. Public funds has been closed nor used by few individuals. The Auditor General must come with a clear report on that, okay? Conrad Kulo says the BBI document was termed null and void on account that the president had his hands on the bill. The Supreme Court also made it clear that the president cannot be prosecuted. Then how does one call for the prosecution of BBI proponents? Okay. Engineer Lazaro says jostling for space within the biggest coalitions is something normal. Cherargei Wamatangi should be reminded that Mudavadi and his flamboyant mouthpiece Senator Malala are only in recess. They will bounce back with an even louder bang. Okay. Uchieng Omita says, what's bringing major cracks in Azimio 1 Kenya is this direct ticket choice. What should be done? These guys should face off in the nomination so as the best candidate to win. Okay? Joshua Majoni says, things will never get well in Azimio so long as the two handshake brothers continue doing things behind the scene and shocking everyone, including their own partners. I'm welcoming Governor Mutua to Kenya Kwanza. Okay? Sawe says UDA candidates are very confident that there will be free and fair nominations in their camp. Host them with the same question on 21st of April 2022. The message will be different. Mutua will be the only one smiling. Okay. Chaluwood Rosie says Azimio la Umoja will never crack because of small parties like Maendeleo Chap Chap. Any party within the Azimio la Umoja coalition who is not ready to comply should leave immediately. Jonah Leleito says, if Mutua, the founder of Azimio, is crying, what's the state of recent joiners like Martha? Mutua, we welcome Kenya Kwanza, where peace and tranquility is the order. Okay. Gentlemen, that's where we leave it for now. Coming up next, we're talking about the budget right after this break, all right?
Thank you.
Asante.
Thank you, guys.